For the first time in over 150 years, Americans find themselves at war on their own soil. As we speak, a great pincer movement is closing in on the American people. On one side, we have inflation. On the other side, we have cost of living, and the American people are ripe for slaughter. In America right now, there's a war on the working poor. I think that it's appropriate for all of us to pause, reflect on something that is of concern to all of us. It's a policy that's all over the media right now. It's spoken all throughout the halls of power, and it affects every worker, every struggling American family, and every person just trying to make a living. It's tariffs. By face definition, tariffs aren't anything really exciting. They aren't something that really concerns normal American people. It's just a policy being bandied about by those who are in power. And these taxes on foreign goods, on foreign nations, are often wrapped in the language of protectionism or economic patriotism. But the fact is, they're nothing more than a modern economic oppression. I say this because the harm that they cause don't simply fall on foreign economies or corporations who exist beyond borders. The great weight of the consequences are borne on the shoulders of the poorest, the most vulnerable people in America. I think when confronting what a tariff is and the reality of it, we need to come with an acceptance that most Americans don't have the luxury of an extra income. There's no cushion of a savings. There's no ability to weather costs, not when you're living paycheck to paycheck. And the vast majority of people in America at this point are living paycheck to paycheck. And it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, everyone accepts the fact that prices will rise due to tariffs. And there will be price hikes again. And price hikes now when we're already dealing with inflation and a cost of living crisis that we've not seen in lifetimes. What are the American people to do? Like I said, this goes beyond the left and right. We need to look at this through the perspective of common American people. Those who are just like you, those who you go to work with, those who go to church with you maybe, those who you know, and even those who you assume are going through the same exact struggles that you are. And that's because it's true to assume that because the vast majority of Americans are going through those exact same struggles. And like I said, who's going to pay for these price hikes? Who's going to be affected by them? Is it going to be the wealthy or the elites? No, of course it's not. Will the corporate giants stand for the people for the first time in history? Of course they won't. The people who pay the price will be the working families of America, the men and women who live paycheck to paycheck. Imagine a single mother working 2 jobs to put food on the table for her kids. She has to buy shoes for her children. She has to buy medicine for her family. She has to purchase groceries that right now she's already on social assistance just so she can afford that. But now we're looking at more price hikes, which means the shoes, the food, the medicine, all the necessities that we need just to live in America, to have some kind of meager life of dignity, are now going to become out of reach. This is a war on the poor. It's a war on the American poor. Even though it's packaged to us and framed that its effects are going to be felt by foreign countries, the fact is, when we make ourselves to stand alone as a nation, we allow others to ally against us. Like I've said before, the wolves are at the gate, and a pack of wolves can kill a lion. So in essence, the tariffs are an act of cruelty against the American people, because the system isn't designed to protect those people. The system is designed to protect the few, the powerful, and the well-connected. And why? So industries that can benefit from tax breaks, subsidies, and other forms of government aid can continue to thrive while the rest of us are waiting to pay the check. I think the supporters of tariffs say that it's going to protect American jobs. It'll make industry in America thrive again. It'll make us look to the interior and produce more. But the fact is that most of our industries have already left America. So when you bar foreign industries from actually participating in the American economic system, you isolate us and you limit the resources that we already have. With interest rates as high as they are and likely to stay the same now that we're seeing a stock market crash, if not go higher, there's not going to be any money to invest. The people who are already losing their shirts, they're not going to be the people who are going to be starting new enterprises, because those same people have to measure cost and risk. And right now, America is nothing more than a risk to the rest of the world. And as always, these issues will be blamed on the American poor. Why couldn't they just pull it together? We did everything that we could. But at this moment right now, everything that they could be doing, whether that's the right, whether it's the left, is doing nothing but working against the American people, my compatriots, my countrymen. And that's where I stand. I'll never stand on the left or the right as long as it leaves out the other half of my country. I'll never do that. And my countrymen are my people. Republicans aren't my people. Democrats aren't my people. The people of America are my people. And that's how we should look at this whole issue. Because if we haven't learned by now that whether you're on the right or whether you're on the left, there isn't anybody that actually has your back, that they're all on the same team, that they're all paid for by the same people, and that their interests are not intertwined with the American people's interests, then we are destined to fail as a people. Well, the people say that this is only going to affect the luxuries that are being imported into this country. Understand that as a counter to the tariffs that are being made by the American government, other countries are also issuing tariffs, whether it be Canada, Mexico, China. And while to an insular mind this might not seem like much of an issue, the fact that all of our building materials, all of our farm equipment come from overseas means that the prices of transportation, the prices of purchase of those objects that are at the very foundation of the supply chain are going to affect the overall prices of all products that hit the market. So the price hikes are inevitable. And with the economy being damaged, the US dollar will continue to be devalued because they're not going to stop printing. We are entering a period of an economic quagmire already set into a recession. And because we've isolated ourselves, of course other countries are going to retaliate because we struck first. Because what happens when the prices go up so high that companies can't make enough money to pay their people the way that they've been paying them. So eventually they're going to start firing people even more. Layoffs have already begun, but what happens when they increase? What happens when they get to the point where the people who are tenured, the people who have been there for a long time, now become too expensive to keep in payroll? This isn't fear. This isn't anything on the outside realm of possibility. And as time goes on, and as we see the situation unfurl, I think all we can say is that it's becoming more probable. So we have to look at the tariffs. We have to look at the economic measures that are being taken now, not as a political issue, but a moral issue. Because a policy that raises the cost of living, that affects the poorest of us, that puts housing out of reach, that drives up the cost of food and all the daily necessities, also leads to the limitation of families. It leads to the great limiting of the next generations that are coming up, that are going to have to solve the situations that they're being given as their cultural inheritance. So like I said, I think the argument must become an issue of morality over policy, because what country do we want to be? A nation who stands up for the working poor, a nation who gives opportunity for all, or a nation like it is now, a nation like it's going to continue to be, which is a nation that protects the interest of a few at the expense of the many. So my friends, I say to you, the tariffs are not a solution, they are a new problem. What we need is a system that allows for fair competition, yes, one where American industries can thrive alongside global ones without penalizing the people who can afford the least. We need economic policies that uplift the working poor instead of shrugging them off to focus on the middle class. Because the middle class doesn't truly exist anymore. You have the upper middle class and the upper class. Everyone who's in the middle class exists in the working poor now. When 60 or 70% of the country doesn't have $1,000 in the savings, when the new generation who's entering the labor market doesn't have the ability to afford homes or even dream of the ability to have a family, how can they have any trust in the system and actually have their backs as they should? We need economic policy that creates good paying jobs and ensures the prosperity of a nation that's shared by all, and not just the rich. We are not a country of isolation, we are a country of connection. Our success lies in our ability to trade, to share ideas, to lift each other up. And I think that means both here and around the world. And while I appreciate protectionist ideals, I understand, as I've said before, high ideals are the most expensive. And the fact is, those expenses are borne on the shoulders of the poor, not on the wealthy. We know this when we look back at Vietnam. When we look back at any modern war, it's not the children of the wealthy who go to war to fight for lies. No, it's the children of the poor. It is the poor. And this is a great failure in what this nation was supposed to be. So like I said, we have to look beyond our political parties and understand that things that affect us all. And when it comes to things like midterms, if we're going to still believe that voting actually has an impact, we need to judge on the consequences of policy rather than the rhetoric and the personality of those who wish to be kings. Because this is America. And although we have a fascination with celebrity, although we essentially look at our political leaders or our corporate leaders with an air of nobility, this is something that goes against the fabric of American thought, or at least it used to. Before the American government was the American government, before we created it as a people, the contract was that the government looks out for the best interest from the people. It acts within the best interest of the people. And can anyone honestly say that that's what it does now? No matter who you vote for, can you actually argue that that's what it does? We must dismantle the barriers that prevent us from operating within the global market and allow the poor to have access to affordable goods, because the time has come to ask hard questions. The time has come to take a stand against the policies that harm the most vulnerable among us. It's time to stop believing that tariffs and starting an economic war against the globe is in the best interest of the people. Because the poor, the working class, they are not the enemy. They are the backbone of this nation, at least for now, until AI takes over. And I think it's time that we create a new system that reflects those wants. I think as a people, we need to move beyond the protectionism of the past, beyond the policies that harm the working poor in the name of the economic security for the rich. So I say, let's build a nation that works for all of us. Let's be the people that we want to be. Let's be the communities that we want to be. Let's be the neighbors that we want to be, the countrymen we want to be. We should look at each other as compatriots, not as political rivals. The fact that we do so is a sign of the emotional vulnerability that the people in America find themselves in right now. Through that loss of identity, we've lost the fact and the acceptance that we are all compatriots and countrymen, that we all fall under one banner in America. And that even in 100 years, if America no longer exists, the American people will still stand. But I don't know. It's a difficult thing to say. It's difficult to know where we're going. But the compounding pain that the people are going through right now can only lead to something worse. Does anyone truly see a light at the horizon? A light at the end of this tunnel? I'm hard pressed to say that anyone does. Not unless it's at the expense of 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% of this nation. All I can say is we need a change. And I think the people are starting to understand that. I know most of you do understand that. And I do find it strange that my videos are beginning to resonate with so many people, because I'm just a guy in a truck. But I honestly believe it has nothing to do with me. It's simply the fact that we're all going through the same thing, and we can kind of commiserate together and look forward with the understanding that we are not alone, that there's many of us, that we all see the same problems, and eventually we can move to address those same problems. But it's time for us to start speaking up. It's time for you to start speaking up. Even if it's something as simple as content creation, get your voice out there, because your message probably resonates with people.